Hello everybody and welcome to OES United Stars, and today we're going to be covering a few things, starting with the brief history of the Order of the Eastern Star. But before we get into that, I want to say this. What is the Order of the Eastern Star? To put it plainly, the Order of the Eastern Star is a Masonic appendant body, which is open to both men and women. The order is based on biblical allegory, based on the heroines from the Bible, but it is open to people of all faiths, so long as they believe in a supreme being. It is also a charity organization, making donations towards medical research, scholarship funds, retirement homes, and several other projects. The Order of the Eastern Star has chapters currently in over 18 countries, with the International Temple being located in Washington, D.C. So here is a brief history of the OES. While clearly lesser known than the Freemasons, the Order of the Eastern Star has a rich history dating all the way back to the 1800s. Originally, the Order of the Eastern Star was established in 1850 by a man named Rob Morris. Dr. Morris was a Freemason and wanted a way to share the teachings and morals of Freemasonry with female relatives. The order itself actually went through various changes as it grew and became more established. For one example, in 1866, Dr. Morris handed over the Order of the Eastern Star to a man named Robert McCoy, who then modified Dr. Morris's rosary, as it was called then, into a ritual. Robert McCoy felt that the organization should have a set of degrees, similar to Freemasonry, and so Mr. McCoy created 3 degrees, the first being the Order of the Eastern Star, the second being the Queen of the South, and the third being the Order of the Amaranth. While both Rob Morris and Robert McCoy felt that the 3 degrees would help to popularize and deepen the order, this did not last, as the Order of the Amaranth became its own organization, and the Queen of the South degree faded from most organizations, only being practiced now in a select few, and mostly through Prince Hall chapters. While the order has continued to change over the years, much of what has remained, and it's the same in the ritual. The lessons that are taught and the positions given to members to make up a full chapter, all of that is still faithful to the original. Much like Freemasonry and other appendant bodies, the Order of the Eastern Star has seen a decline in membership as of late. So how does someone join the Order of the Eastern Star? So this is where I kind of go a little bit off script, because it is a little bit harder to explain, as the process is the same generally for everybody, but the time that it takes and how you go about it, it can be a little bit different just depending. So the basis for joining the Order of the Eastern Star would be research it. Obviously, you want to see if this is something that you're willing to do. When it comes to the Order of the Eastern Star, it is something that you get more out of it the more that you put into it. So if you're just looking to join something for socialization and you don't try to go up the ladder or, learn anything from the ritual or anything like that, then you're really not going to get as much out of it as you would if you're going to the events and helping, in various committees and really just putting yourself in there and getting involved in all the various things and all the various events. And as mentioned before, they are usually charity events to raise funds for various projects. Now, there is a website that you can go to, and that is easternstar.org, which will be in the description down below. And from there, you can kind of look at different things as far as like the charities that the Eastern Star puts money into, as well as a brief history as well. And there's other sorts of links so that you can check out different things about the order and see if maybe it'd be a fit for you. Now, I will say that while the website is there, going to it, I personally never felt like it answered any of my questions. So the best thing that you can do is reach out to your local chapter. Now, this is where it kind of gets complicated because you can run into a situation where you have to do a little bit of digging, and then even after you do all that digging, it's really going to test your determination on how much you want to know about the order and, you know, how badly you want to try and join. At least this was my experience, and this experience might not be the same for everyone. So you're going to have to Google your local chapters. And if it doesn't pop up right away, if you're Googling, you know, Order of the Eastern Star Washington or Wisconsin or whatever, and if it doesn't pop up right away, then what you want to do, if you can't find the website for your grand chapter, which then should lead to local chapters, if you want to find something local and you're curious, find your local Masonic temple. It will be a lot easier to find on the internet, most likely, and from there you can contact the Masons. When you contact the Masons, just say that you're very curious about Order of the Eastern Star. However, you weren't able to find any website or any point of contact, and then hopefully they can lead you in the right direction, because I personally had to do this since I had sent emails to the links that I found for my local chapter, but I never got a response. So, and then when I called the phone number, since there's usually not people at the temples, nobody answered. So again, if you can't reach out to the Order of the Eastern Star directly, contact the Masons. They will have a contact for you, and then you can kind of go from there. Once you establish contact with someone from the Eastern Star, you can either ask just for information, say, hey, I'm interested, but I'd like more information, and they'll either set up a meeting with you so that they can talk to you about it, or they'll send you a pamphlet or whatever information they might personally have. There are also open events. You can go to the installation of officers or some of their charity events, and then you'd be able to talk with some of the ladies and kind of gain some insight to see if this is something that you're interested in. Now, say that you don't really feel like talking about it much, you've already made up your mind, and you want to join. So then what you're going to do is, with that contact that you've established, whether you've gone through your grand chapter to find your local chapter, or whether you just went right to your local chapter and made a point of contact, you're going to ask for a petition. Now, there is a petition fee. So for me personally, my petition fee was $10, and I'm not sure if this is standard across the board or what. It may change depending on your location. But the petition fee for me was $10, and I was told that if my petition was not accepted for any reason, I would get that $10 back. Now, sometimes this may not be the case. I'm not going to say that it's the case across the board, but I was told that I would get my $10 back for the petition fee if my petition was not accepted for any reason. Now, what they don't tend to explain is how long this process actually takes once you turn in a petition. So you'll be given the petition, you have to fill it out, and you have to send it in with your $10, which is your petition fee, or however much they say is your petition fee. So you send in the petition and your petition fee, all in the same envelope, and you either send it, mail it, or you give it to whoever you're talking to. Now, because of the declining numbers and just the lack of temples, many chapters have had to merge, and so what you're going to find is that chapters really only meet once a month. And obviously this is going to vary because they usually share a space with the Masons, so they have to kind of schedule around the various Masonic activities. So the chapter only meets once a month. When you turn in your petition, then they will read that petition at their next meeting. So if you turn in your petition in March and they've already had their meeting for March, you're going to have to wait until their meeting in April. When they have their meeting in April, they will read your petition. Now, if they want to essentially, go through with your petition, if they feel like this is something that they want to pursue, then they will set up what's called an investigative committee. And what this investigative committee is it's generally 3 people. Mine was only 1, but that's because 2 of the people already knew me personally. Usually it's about 3 people if they have 3 people to spare. It's supposed to be 3 people, but sometimes you might have less just depending on the chapter and who all can participate. But you'll have 3 people who will then make contact with you with the information that you've put on your petition, which is why you want to make sure that everything's accurate and you're not putting any false stuff on there, because they have to reach out to you. The interviewing committee will then reach out to you and they'll meet with you somewhere. So when I joined my first chapter, I met at a Panera. And when I joined my second chapter, I met at a Culver's. So usually they'll invite you to lunch and they'll offer to pay. Mine offered to pay for my lunch. They were very sweet. I didn't get anything to eat the second time because I don't like people buying my lunch. But that's just my personal issue. But anyways, mine offered to buy my lunch, and usually they have a sit down with you, and from there they'll pull out your petition, and they'll also pull out a separate form which they'll ask you a number of questions. Now, these are the kind of questions that you are going to be asked. They're going to ask you if you believe in a supreme being. Now, the reason they do this is because this is a very religious sort of organization. Now, it is not a religion. Order of the Eastern Star is not a religion, but it is based on biblical allegory, which means it is very religious, which, means there will be prayers and there will be lessons that come straight from the Bible. And so they want to know that you have faith in something, because otherwise you're really not going to get a lot out of this organization. Another thing that they're going to ask you is about Masonic relationship. Now, you do not have to be related to a Mason anymore in order to join Order of the Eastern Star if you are a woman. Now, if you are a man wanting to join Order of the Eastern Star, you do have to be a Master Mason, which means you would have to go through Freemasonry, the first 3 degrees of Freemasonry first, before you can join Order of the Eastern Star. But for women, you no longer have to be related to a Mason, though it will help you when it comes to the interviewing committee. That's basically all that they'll ask you that means anything, is if you're related to a Mason and if you have, a belief or faith in a supreme being. Now, you don't have to go into specifics, all right? They're not going to ask, or at least they shouldn't ask about your personal religious beliefs, because 1, it's none of their business, and 2, the Order of the Eastern Star is open to all faiths. So if they are asking your specific beliefs, you can tell them, that you're just spiritual, or if you feel like telling them, you can tell them. Honesty is the best policy, and if you're rejected for any reason, because they're just not a fan of your faith or whatever, then, that's clearly not the organization for you. Now, there are some things that they might struggle with. I once had a woman tell me that Wicca is not compatible with Order of the Eastern Star because they don't believe in a supreme being. They're polytheistic. And I did explain that there are Wiccans that do believe in a supreme divine. It's just they kind of break that divine into aspects, which is the god and goddess. And then they quickly went, oh, I didn't know that, so I guess it does fit. So, like I said, it's up to you whether you want to tell them. Honesty is the best policy, but you might, if it is a polytheistic sort of thing that you're doing, you might want to explain that you do believe in a supreme being, but that you kind of break it into aspects or have other things that kind of go into that. Like I said, these are usually very... most of the time you are going to run into, people who are devout Christians. And so, if you are of any alternative faith, they might inwardly clutch their pearls. But I have found that the women that I personally have spoken to are very accepting. They're very accepting, very loving. And they didn't really ask too deeply what I believed, because they do believe it is a very personal thing. And they also admitted it is really none of their business. So once you do the interviewing committee, okay, so now we've turned in our petition, they've read our petition and set up their committee, and now they are interviewing us, which they do on their own time. Now you have to wait for their next meeting. So we turned in our petition in March. They read it in April. They're not going to discuss the results until May. All right, hypothetically, if this is what's going on. When they read the petition in May, then they are essentially going to decide whether or not that you're worth voting on. And if they decide that you are worth voting on, then you'll have to wait until the next meeting, because they'll want everybody there so that you can be voted on, which means you're not being voted on until June. So it's been months now, and if you're lucky, they'll kind of keep you up to date. No one really kind of kept me up to date with the progress of my petition, so I kind of felt like I'd been abandoned. But yeah, so then they'll vote on you in June. Now, when it comes to voting, it's an all or nothing. If not all the members want you to be in, then you will not be in. But don't feel scared of that, because chances are they're all going to want you, okay? Because, again, there is a decline in membership, but also just because even if there's some things that maybe they feel a little strange about, ultimately, so long as they get the sense that you're a good person who could benefit from the teachings of the order and that you're willing to help, then they'll want you in the order. Okay, it's as simple as that. So say that everybody's voted in June and you've been accepted. They will then let you know, hey, you have been chosen to receive the degrees of the Order of the Eastern Star. Now, I know previously in my video I mentioned that there used to be the 3 degrees, which was Order of the Eastern Star, Queen of the South, and the Order of the Amaranth. The Order of the Eastern Star had its own sort of set of degrees inside of itself. And, it was 5 degrees. And so when you join the order, they will tell you that you are going to receive your 5 degrees in one day. And that is true. And this is all public knowledge, all right? This is nothing crazy. But you will be receiving the 5 degrees, which are the 5 points of the star, which are representative of the heroines from the Bible that are chosen to represent the Order of the Eastern Star. So it is once they tell you that you've been accepted to receive the degrees, they will then work with you on an initiation date. Now, usually the initiation date will be on their next meeting, which would be July. So again, we're going months and months and months. Now, this could change. So for me, my chapter meets on a day that I normally work. I have a full-time job, and I have very strict days off. And I told them, hey, I know the chapter meets on this day of the week every month, but I work on those days of the week. So I really need, if I'm to be initiated, it would have to be on blah, blah, blah day, unless I can maybe take a day off, but that's a very rare chance that I can do so. So there was an exception made for me to be initiated on my day off. Sometimes they will do this. Most likely they will do this, but it's more a matter of they've just got to find available people. Because, obviously people join chapters that they can actually participate in. Mine was a weird circumstance, so they had to pull people from other chapters to do my initiation. And honestly, I thought it was better for it because it was kind of more fun that way, because everybody was like, oh crap, I haven't done this in a while. And so it was just one of those things that was really, really fun. But again, normally what would happen is you would have your initiation on the next stated meeting after they have voted on you. So that is essentially how you join the Order of the Eastern Star. Once they've accepted you and, voted on you, and then you've received the degrees, boom, you're in. So that is the process. Put in petition after paying for petition. Wait until they read your petition and set up a committee. Get interviewed. Wait again until they vote on you, and then you get initiated. And that's the process. I mean, it's really simple. It just takes a long time because, again, these chapters are only meeting once a month. Now, obviously, people have some other questions, and I am happy to answer them. So let's go through some of the ones that I've gotten. One of the main questions that I often get asked is, does it cost money? And the short answer is yes. First, you're going to pay your petition fee in order to join, and then afterwards, you will have yearly dues. Now, some people tend to think that this is a monthly charge. I thought it was a monthly charge, but it turns out that is not the case. Actually, It is a yearly charge, and it's really not that much. So for my chapter, I think it's determined by state. It's essentially determined by the Grand Chapter and by state. And yes, as costs increase, your dues will also increase. For me, one of my chapters is, well, both of my chapters, I think, maybe. I don't know. I'm part of too many things. One of them is $35 and the other one is $31. So basically $31 to $35 is currently the cost. And that is per year. So you're literally only paying what you'd pay for a tank of gas. Well, not now, but, almost a tank of gas. What you'd pay basically for gas money is essentially what you're paying for the whole year of membership. Now, if for some reason that you cannot pay your dues, there are a couple things that you can do. If you're not able to pay your yearly due due to circumstances or whatever, you can talk to the women, and generally there will be someone who is willing to pay your dues or to help you pay your dues. When I joined a second chapter, I was actually gifted my dues fee, essentially being paid by the worthy matron. She decided that she was going to pay my dues for the rest of the year. And anytime I've ever been in any trouble or anything, where I said, well, I don't know if I can afford this or if I can do that, there's always someone who is like, well, let me know and we'll work with you or something like that. They don't want to lose their membership, they don't want to see you go. So, if for some reason $30 is too expensive for you, there's someone that's willing to help. Some people might find it a little, I guess, weird that you have to pay to be in an organization. But again, this helps with multiple things. This is going to help with the bills because, they are using a building, which means, they have a water bill, electricity bill, they have property taxes. There's things that they have to pay. The dues goes, helps towards that. And if the chapter needs anything for any reason, again, the dues will go towards that as well. And it is such a small fee. So yes, it does cost money, but it does not cost a lot of money. It's actually the cheaper of the appendant bodies outside of maybe Amaranth, because Freemasonry is actually pretty expensive, all things considered. But yeah, Order of the Eastern Star is like pennies to that. So believe it or not, I have gotten this question, and I think it's just because a lot of the misinformation on the YouTube about Order of the Eastern Star, and we'll be covering some of that. I'll probably react to some videos in the future that's spreading misinformation about it. But people often ask, because it is a quote secret society, even though it's not, people will ask if the organization is demonic. Again, no. I think it's kind of crazy that people think it's demonic when literally everything about the organization has to do with the Bible. Me, myself, I am not a Christian. Okay, that's just me. But I am not the standard Order of the Eastern Star member. I am not the typical member. I am very much on the outskirts of what a standard, typical member is like. But typically it's older women and men who have been raised religiously, in a, with Christian values, in a Christian household, who still go to church regularly, and will often probably invite you, and and again, everything revolves around the Holy Bible, lessons from within the Bible, and women in the Bible. So, with that being said, again, I think it's kind of crazy that people think it's demonic. There's one guy, and I forget his name. He's some sort of rabbi or preacher or something, and he talks about how the initiation is, all sacrifice and satanic and whatever. And I just want to say that his initiation obviously was way more fascinating than mine, and I'm kind of jealous. I'm just kidding. Mine was beautiful. My initiation was very beautiful. But there definitely wasn't any goat sacrifices, and there definitely weren't any massive group shenanigans going on, if you catch my drift. So it's just one of those things where, again, it's just people spreading rumors. It's just people kind of building into that whole, ooh, secret society sort of nonsense. Ooh, Illuminati sort of silliness. It's definitely not true. And I think you'll be, if you are going into the Order of the Eastern Star hoping for something like that, if you're hoping for ultimate power and immortality and, you know, pacts with demons, you'll be thoroughly disappointed and you'll probably ask for a refund right away. Just, yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave that one because it's such a silly question. So I did bring this up before, and someone asked one time, can I join if I'm an atheist? The answer is not really. So one of the prerequisites of joining is that you have to believe in a supreme being. Now, obviously, an atheist is the lack of belief in a supreme being. You're not religious, you don't really believe in a god or anything like that. So Satanists would not be able to join because most Satanists are atheists. Atheists themselves would not be able to join because, again, there's that lack of belief in a supreme being. But there are other faiths that are perfectly acceptable because you believe in a supreme being. Now, a lot of the time when people want to argue against Order of the Eastern Star and say that it's evil, it is because we allow any faith that believes in a supreme being, so long as the person themselves fit what we're looking for in a person of good moral standing. So there's just a lot that goes into that with people arguing on it or whatever, but ultimately what it comes down to is, you know, as long as you believe in a supreme being, it doesn't matter what you call it, so long as the belief is there, you can be accepted. And it's because the lessons taught in Order of the Eastern Star are based in biblical allegory. All the lessons taught are religious lessons. So you kind of would need that belief in a supreme being, otherwise the lessons just kind of seem weird. Also, they just kind of seem to, I'm not going to say they'd fall on deaf ears, but the Order obviously doesn't want to put a person in a position where they, one, feel uncomfortable, but two, they're kind of scoffing or, you know, kind of rolling their eyes at what we're trying to teach. So, you know, an atheist that has no belief in a supreme being wouldn't really gain a lot from the lessons being taught that have to do with a supreme being. So again, orders usually say if you don't believe in a supreme being, you cannot join, so that would include anything that has to do with atheism. It very much saddens me that we have to ask this question in today's, environment, but I do get questions about if you are of the Le Bidage de Croix, if you are of the Rainbow Mafia, if you would be accepted in the Order of the Eastern Star. And the answer is yes. One of the men who gave a speech at my initiation, he is gay, and me, myself, I am also gay. But it is one of those things where it's just, they don't bring it up and you don't really tend to talk about it much. If it comes up, but a lot of the times, it's really not, okay? They're not gonna try and pry. They might ask you some simple questions like if you're married, or, some of the older women might be like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? Because they've got a grandson, they're trying to, give away to somebody or something, just fun things like that. But ultimately, it's not a place where they pry into your life. Your life is your life. You're all there to do good things and do good work. And, who you love doesn't really fall into that. It doesn't matter. And one of the things that happened to me was I was going to a multi-state event, and I think the person I was riding with was really trying to hint that she knew that I was gay, because she kept bringing up that it was totally fine and that we had plenty of members that were gay, and that she knew a bunch of people that were gay. And it just kind of kept coming up, and it was awkward, yes, but it was more funny, and it was very wholesome when I thought about it later, because I was like, okay, she was clearly trying to make me feel very comfortable so that if I did want to speak on it, I could. But again, all the members of the order, they have access to my social media, and they obviously see my posts, and I do post about, certain things that have to do with that, and no one has brought it up. I have brought up relationships in the past when they have come up, and again, no one has really said anything. Now, again, this could just be the area where I'm living, and I am very lucky. Obviously, if you ever are in a situation where you do not feel safe, you are free to just leave, okay? You can quit the order anytime you like, all right? They're not going to keep you there. There is I call it the 2-week notice. There is a proper way to leave, which is called demit. And essentially you submit petition for a demit and just basically say hey, I'm leaving because of reasons A, B, C, D, E. This just kind of gives them a chance to see if they can help you. So if you're leaving for financial reasons, obviously they can reach out and see if you need help with anything. If you're leaving due to sickness, again, they're going to reach out and see if maybe they can do anything to help you. But ultimately, if you decide that this is not for you and you just do not want to be a member anymore, you can demit, and you don't have to really specify in depth as to why. Just kind of give them a reason, obviously. And then they will read it aloud at a meeting, basically stating you want to demit and why you want to demit. And then the worthy patron will either accept your demit or deny it. But ultimately, if you just stop paying your dues, per year, you're out of the order anyways. So even if they decline your demit for any reason, which would be weird if they did that, you can just stop paying your dues and then you're not a member anymore anyways. So it doesn't really matter. Again, they're not going to chain you up and keep you if you don't want to stay. And if you ever do feel uncomfortable with one chapter, there are other chapters that you can visit, and not all chapters are the same. So definitely try and find one that fits you. My first chapter that I joined, it is full of very lovely people, but ultimately it was not really my style. There were some things I did not necessarily agree with, and I didn't like how some things were being done. It wasn't bad, it was just an organization thing. And so I ended up focusing on a different chapter that I absolutely adore, and it just fits me and who I am a lot better. And they're like a second family to me. So again, not all chapters are the same. If you join one chapter and you're not really feeling it, feel free to visit other chapters, which you are allowed to do once you're a member. And if you find one that's more your style, you can become a member of that chapter, demit from your original chapter if you want to, or you can just become a dual member. It doesn't really matter. So there are options out there. But yes, they are very accepting, and if they do not accept you, then there's a problem, because that is not the type of people that we are, and that is not how we are supposed to be. So the final question that I want to cover today is the biggest question, which is, do you really have to take a vow of secrecy in the Order? And the answer is yes. Now, the Order of the Eastern Star is not a secret society, okay? Nothing about it as far as knowing what it is and being able to join. None of that is secret. You can say that you are part of the Order of the Eastern Star. You don't have to keep that hidden. Obviously where they meet and even their meetings and their events are open to the public via websites. None of that is secret. So while it is not a secret society, it is a society with secrets. And, during your initiation, you will take a vow of secrecy. Now, this is for a bunch of different reasons, but mainly it's more of tradition, okay? I'm not going to say anything really other than that. It's tradition. It's just how it used to be. You want to know who's trustworthy, and that is one of the biggest tests of trustworthiness is, can you keep a secret? If you can't keep a secret, then you're not really the type of person that they'd want to have around, because you're going to be saying everything and letting everybody know everybody's business. So that's one of the biggest things. It's more of just a test of, can you keep your mouth shut? Or can't you? And also, again, like I said, it is just tradition. There was a time where things had to be kept secret for certain reasons, because of safety and things like that. That does not really apply to today's world, but regardless, whether it applies or not, it is tradition, it is still in the order, and so you are expected to still keep secrets. And a lot of people use this as an argument as to why, it's not a good order to join, because you shouldn't have to keep secrets. And again, that's completely optional. I will say that anything can be found anywhere, okay? That is just how it is. So even though you are sworn to secrecy, there's probably someone that already knows all the stuff. I can tell you that I knew some of the stuff before I was supposed to, and it's just how determined are you, I guess. But yeah, it's really not as big of a deal as some people make it out to be. But again, it's more of an honor thing, it's more of a truthfulness thing, and it's more of just a test of your character than anything. So yes, it's true, you're not going to be able to tell your husband if he's not in the Order of the Eastern Star. You're not going to be able to tell him some things. Same as you're not going to be able to go blab to your friends or your mom or whoever unless they are a member. But again, that's more of an honor thing. And it kind of adds to the allure to the order. People are like, oh, well, what did you do? What was your initiation like? And then you just look at them and you go, I can't tell you. And then they're really curious, and you're like, well, if you join, I could, you'd be able to see what it is. And, it's really good for recruitment. It gets people curious and it pulls them in. And then afterwards, 9 times out of 10, they're like, really? That was it? And it's like, hell yeah. Yes, there is a vow of secrecy. If you're not the type that's able to keep a secret, whether it's for, religious reasons or whether it's just because it doesn't sit right with you, then obviously the Order of the Eastern Star is not going to be a good organization for you. Now, if you've heard everything in this video and you are still very interested in it, definitely follow the steps that I've given as far as joining. And honestly, we'd be so happy to have you, because the Order has so much good in it and can do so much good for a lot of people. And obviously, the more people that we have, the more good that we can do in this world, the more we can be a light in the darkness, so definitely we'd be so happy to have you join us. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments section down below. Thank you guys so much for your support in this video, and I will see you in the next one. All right.